At 21, I was the first one out of my friends to have 100k to my name, and I was the first one to lose near enough 100k at the same time.
The Multipliers Club podcast, insights and tips for business owners, entrepreneurs and investors.
Because each and every single one of the boys, Joe, Jake and Lou, sent back another 5-minute voice note saying, Jesus Christ, I'm in my pants as well.
The multipliers, multiplying everything, multiply your network, multiply your knowledge, your income.
Sam's on the phone in the toilet, his job, trying to make sales, and then after work, I'm working till crazy late. And then we had COVID, which obviously wiped out all our clients. So we got up here and then it just came crashing down.
No, I'll be 100% transparent with you guys, and most people won't ever tell you this.
You're decision makers, you take fast action, you put in the work.
I ain't got time to meditate. I've got to pick up the phone and start calling leads.
Don't let anyone fool you. It is very hard to juggle both. It's so hard. What works really well for me,
You've got to put one foot in front of the other, no matter what. Because in business, if you're staying still, you're going backwards.
We managed to get it back up, and then that's what allowed us to actually quit our jobs and go full time with it.
What is the biggest mistake you think you've made?
Thinking that bigger was better, taking on too many staff members, getting too many overheads, thinking that just because I'm getting bigger means that my profit's getting bigger. It didn't. Scale back. Joe might disagree with this, but I think
The most important thing, 50% of my profit margin comes from
Hey everyone, and welcome to the show. This week we're doing things a little bit different. We're joined by the guys from the Multipliers Club podcast, but we thought, as there is 4 of them, to make sure that you get the most out of their stories, their wisdom, their lessons, we thought we'd break this into 2 halves. So up first on this episode, we're joined by Joe and Jake. And then we've got part 2 on the next episode where Samuel and Luke join us. It's a really good episode. All 4 of these guys have achieved some really great success individually in their own businesses. And then they collaborate together as part of the Multipliers podcast. There's so much experience between the 4 of them. I really think you're going to enjoy this one and get a lot out of it. Without further ado, part 1 from the Multipliers Club. Joe, Jake, thank you so much for being here. Obviously, we met recently when you invited me on your show, the Multipliers Club. Straight away, I just loved what you guys were about, your energy, your passion, your determination, and also the experience you have between, each other and the rest of the guys on that show when it comes to business. So I want to dive straight in because I feel like online, we see a lot of people talking about the Rolex watches and all kind of glorifying entrepreneurship. It's very much become cool and trendy. If I start with you, Joe, what would you say is the reality day to day of running your own businesses? And importantly, how do you overcome those challenging times?
Yeah, so I think it depends what business you go for, first of all. So my first business, and what I find is the first few months or the first 6 months of business is you get a few wins, maybe some lucky wins, maybe some support from friends, family, something new, something exciting. And that gives you the optimism that you're going to go on and take over the world. And that's what gets you hooked, right? So my first business was a personal shopping business, sort of this online glamorous 10K a month business. I was one of the fairly early ones to do it. And so I did quite quickly get up to that sort of 10K a month, earning very good profit, 6 figures a year, age 20. And I just felt on top of the world. And that's good. That's fun. That is the glamorous lifestyle, to be honest, when you first get started. But then when you get to the next level of business and you've done that for a couple of years and you look at, okay, how can we scale this? How can I get a team? You do start having issues go wrong. I had Brexit, I had COVID. I had my storage unit broken into, which I spoke about on a previous podcast, lost 50K there, got scammed of 20K, and all of a sudden it kind of, your business world turns upside down and you start getting hit with problems that you've never come across before. None of your friends are going through the same thing. At 21, I was probably the first one out of my friends to have 100K to my name. And I was the first one to lose near enough 100K at the same time, right? And so it's just an absolute roller coaster. But I think once you get through that first stage, then and business kind of gets a bit more serious. For me, I took then the traditional business. I had a few businesses at one stage, but then I went for the more traditional business because I reviewed it, I looked at it, and I thought, what do I see myself doing in 10 years, 20 years? And I think when you do first hit that small level of success, very quickly it wears off. You know, the nice things, whatever clothes you want, and the Rolex and the nice car and stuff. I didn't, there's a level. I didn't have houses, I didn't have boats, I didn't have anything like that. But in terms of being 2021, I could pretty much buy anything that I wanted at that kind of income. But it wears off quite quickly, and you start thinking, do I want to be doing this for 10 years, 20 years? What? So I went with the traditional business because I saw an opportunity, and after a couple of years of running that building company, I realized it is tough, it's hard. But for me, I thought, if I can make this business work, which I believed I could, I knew that I could then walk into most businesses in the future and I'd have all the doors available to me to walk through. Because if you can build in my industry, no pun intended, then you can probably do it in most industries. Whereas if I did it in the personal shopping industry, would I then in 5 years be able to build the company I have now? Absolutely no chance.
There's a
So
few
I
things
played,
there, Joe. I just want to jump in on
go
because
for it.
obviously I think
Go
what you're
on.
saying there is it's about getting aligned with the long-term vision. It's about something being sustainable. It's about once the materialism gets kind of, okay, I've done this now. It's about what do I want to be doing? I also just want to go back before we move on. And, you covered a lot really quickly there about like some
Yeah.
really difficult, challenging times. And I know there's a lot of people that will be listening to this now that either are going through those challenging times, they're not having the success and the glamour.
Mm.
In terms of whether it be a mindset thing or practical advice or maybe both, just speaking to those people right now, what's your advice on how to deal with those tough times?
Think to those that are going through it, it just has to be a mindset, right? It has to be taking it day by day, knowing that you got to put one foot in front of the other, keep moving forward no matter what. Because in business, if you're staying still, you're going backwards. The market's always moving. The market's moving forward, and depending what industry you're in, especially if it's a new business, you're not doing 10% a year. You're significantly should be increasing year on year. So if you're standing still, you're going backwards, and ultimately you'll spiral down, and you could go out of business, and that's the last thing you want to do. So the most important thing is just take one foot and put it in front of the other and keep moving forward. Get up every day, have your list of tasks. You might have to, and just make sure you're moving the needle. What things are going to move the needle? What things you might have 1,000,001 things on your to-do list, but are they going to actually bring revenue in? Are they going to take you further forward in the company? Just doing admin. There's a saying, don't be a busy fool in business. And that's what a lot of business owners are. You're busy, but you're a fool because you're not doing anything that's going to shift you forward. So make sure at all times you're doing that. You might not at certain times be able to sprint forward. Yeah, you might not be running. You might just be walking at a bloody slow pace, but make sure you're moving forward. And it doesn't matter if you've got this big weight on your shoulders. As long as you're doing that, if you are carrying that weight, you're only going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. At some point, when you release that weight off your shoulders, you're going to be able to move quick. You're going to go through the gears. You're going to go from walking to jogging to running to sprinting, and that can happen at a very quick rate. But the most important thing is when times are tough, when you've got that weight on your shoulders, just keep moving forward, whatever that is. You need to write down what tasks are actually going to drive me forward. Is it finding new connections, new relationships? Is it posting on social media to get more inbound clients? Whatever that is for your business, I don't know. But have a list of tasks that are going to really move the needle and focus on those.
Love it. Jake, over to you. What are some of the most challenging times for you? And also, I'm interested in what's your thoughts on the importance of getting mentors, coaches, asking friends for help, and that sort of and networking, I guess. Do you think that's really important when you're going through tough
Oh,
times?
massive. Yeah. I think Joe hit the nail on the head when he said that the beginning of your business really starts out with your personal network, his friends, family. When you first start up, you do kind of just take everything and anything that's going to come to you. And as you grow, you kind of understand what your niche is and what your type of client looks like. And then you can start to be a little bit more picky the further along you get into your business journey. But yeah, to answer your question regarding coaches network, yeah, we're massive advocates. I think that's why the multipliers, the Multipliers Club, that's what we've called it, the multipliers, multiplying everything, multiply your network, multiply your knowledge, multiply your income. So it's all about just getting better at everything. And with coaches, we've been coached on everything. So from our podcast, we didn't just start a podcast, we actually got coached on how to start a podcast. I
Shout
know it
out to
sounds so
James Burt,
simple,
right? It was
but
Yeah,
James.
James
Yeah.
Burt.
yeah. James, he's on the stage and he talked about how podcast was something where you can film once, but have all of your content on your multiple different streams, your YouTube shorts, your YouTube long form, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You cover all the platforms just by filming once. And I think that's what kind of brought us in. Joe wanted to do it for a long time anyway. But yeah, I feel like that was there was somebody there that knew what they were doing. So to fast track us into a good launch, into getting a good brand behind us, getting some good guests on, and having a place to film it, the right cameras, the right microphones. And I think when you're an entrepreneur, you try and be perfect, and you can never be perfect on your first run. It's all about a lot of practice, but a mentor is going to help you probably eliminate some of the doubts that you're doing things wrong. And that for me, I'm always like that in every walk of life. I know how to go to the gym, but I love having a personal trainer because they're there. They're just holding me accountable constantly. In business, we've had multiple different business mentors, whether it's from sales training. We've invested a lot into sales training. We've invested a lot into business coaches coming into the business behind the scenes and actually working out what sort of staff members that you need, what your profits are, how to increase bottom line, how to forecast. And there's so many different things that they can elevate you on to pretty much push you forward. And I think the other thing that you touched on was networking. That for me has been the biggest driver of my business and just understanding the type of clients. So just give you an example, the like I said, when you first start off, you take on pretty much everything and anything, your friends and family. So the company that I run is it's a franchise model and it's a travel consultancy, hence the map in the background. And we've been running for nearly 4 years now. And when we first started off, it was, we had I had quite a big client base from a previous role. But I knew that I had to pretty much start again. So it's just bringing on friends, family, and kind of understanding our niche, what we wanted to do. And high ticket sales is what we wanted to push for. So high ticket sales, what do I need to do? I need to be surrounded by people that spend a lot of money on their trips, on their holidays. Where can I find that? Look online. Let's have a look for mentoring. Let's have a look for networking. Networking in London. Let's find events in London. Where do people with money hang out? Mayfair. Okay, great. Make connections with those people, find those people on social media, find out where they're going. And yeah, one big club that we got into was a club called Founders Club, which is purely business owners. And that then helped me massively network, really niche down. And that's where all my clients was. I was in the same room as them. I got to shake hands with them. We had to have a conversation. And automatically, even if they'd already had somebody that, I think I'm in quite a lucky industry, because a lot, everybody travels and it's just being surrounded by those particular people. So I think it's really knowing your customer and knowing what you kind of want to get in terms of your knowledge and where you're going to actually find your customers,
Yeah.
and then putting yourself in that position.
Okay, so people are going to listen to that and be like, okay, I need to, look into coaches, mentors, people that can help me. I need to go to networking events. But then they might be thinking going to Mayfair, London, or I know that's just one example, but what they're hearing
Yeah.
is all that costs money. And not everybody starts out with the resources to do it. So if somebody's like, okay, I know that's what I need to do, but paying for mentors that might cost thousands of pounds and, going to networking events that there's the travel, there's the hotel, there's the ticket and so on. If people just
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have that money, what would be your advice to them in terms of how they can still improve their network?
I'd say just reach out to people on social media, like, people that reach out to us now. Like, I love giving back and value, and I wouldn't charge anybody to just give them a piece of advice. If they want to get into something that I'm doing, then I'm passionate about it. you know, I'm more than happy to help anybody. I think, you know, you find that a lot of business people are quite happy to help. And you don't have to go to those particular, you know, it depends on the type of clientele that you want to do. If you want to go, if you want to start getting into property and you've got no money, you know, there's a big sort of massive like networking events around that at the minute. No money down deals, and you got, you know, your Samuel Leeds and your Rob Moore, and you know, they all run property training. But you could go to their classes for free. You can get in the room for free. You can gain knowledge. There are free events, and there are
There's
like-minded
also
people
I'll
in that
just add
room.
to that as well that everyone's got unlimited mentors online, and we're so lucky of this modern marketing method for people for their own reasons. Post out free valuable content, and to compete in the online world of personal branding now, people are having to give more and more and more and more valuable content out for free. So, for example, one of my best mentors, if you'd like, that I've ever had that has had such an impact is Alex Hormozy. I remember I had a personal conversation with him. I probably never will. Hopefully I will. I don't know. But it charged me probably £1 million for for a month's worth of mentoring or a week's worth of mentoring. So, but I listen to all of his podcasts. I follow him on social media. I listen to all his content. I watch YouTube videos. There's so many people like that. When you first start, it was people like Gary V, Robert Kiyosaki, Jake just said there, if it's property, you've got people like Rob Moore. You've got all these podcasts you can watch, you can listen to, you can watch people's YouTube channels, follow the right people on social media, go for your social media, clear out people you don't need, clear out these shit meme pages and get good people, inspirational people providing you with value and content. Learn from them. At the end of the day, you have to just sometimes you have to just take action depending on the business model. If it's your first business, one of the main things you want to do is make sure that you're not risking too much capital and you're doing something with ultimately as low risk possible, usually something like a service-based business where it's just a case of if I can win a client, I can make money. If I don't, nothing sort of happens. I don't have huge overheads. I haven't invested in a product, a software, any of that side of things. So with that in mind, you just need to take action. You just got to hustle. You got to take the knowledge and advice that is out there online. Speak to a few people, like ourselves that are a few steps ahead. Don't outreach to Elon Musk and ask him for a free Zoom call because you're not going to get a response. But you message someone that's just a couple steps ahead, you're probably going to get them to help you out. And I think that's what you got to do. And then you just got to take action as well. Take the knowledge online, speak to a few people, and just go for it. Once you start making some money, then you can look to, okay, well, I've just made £3,000 a month. I've got 10,000 in the bank. I know I've got 3,000 coming in next month. Can I invest £1,000 into some coaching or mentoring? Yeah, probably I can. That's a risk reward that could make a lot of sense.
It's
So
about
you
being
don't
consistently proactive, isn't it? And not getting lazy with it and constantly going, even if finances aren't there at the moment, like you're saying, there is always resources if you proactively make time to go
always.
do the research, look into that. Jake, was you going to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, I think even when it comes to like the money thing, when it is spending money, you've got to remember, like, you know, although it's some form of commitment, you can decide to take something that's an even smaller commitment just to get yourself a bit of confidence. Like, just as an example, somebody that I work with who has their own branch, you know, they started off going to like the local networking events. And obviously, they see the networking events that, you know, I go to is very different. But because it was, you know, little confidence because he's never done any networking before, and it's just a case of learning, just getting in a room. Even if you don't want to get into the property world, but you know there's loads of property networking events around you and they're free or they cost, you know, minimal £10, £20 for a ticket. Just go to actually build up on your networking ability rather than actually to go and get the property knowledge. At least try and build the skill. But I feel like, yeah, networking is probably the biggest skill. Everybody says your network's your net worth. And when you hear it, you think, okay, whatever. But actually, it's very, very true. And when you actually receive it and you're on the other side of it and you can see it, that's the case, then yeah, you totally agree with it.
I
Joe,
do
you
think it
touched
is.
upon there
Go on.
about you're obviously an advocate for traditional businesses. I just want to go a bit deeper on that as well, in terms of you were saying like having a modern like approach to how to market. What would you say if there is somebody with more of a traditional business listening to this? What are some of the big mistakes you see that are going to mean they get left behind in 2024 and beyond when it comes to how they position themselves, the marketing, the techniques that they use, maybe AI, things like that that they might not be aware of?
Yeah, so for to make it clear, traditional business, what I'm calling, like I've got a building company, a design and build. The design and build is part of the modern spin and the branding. But I've got a building company, you know, things like accountancies. I just filmed a podcast with a friend of mine. He's a financial advisor. Let's use that as an example, right? There's 250 financial advisors under the age of 25 in the UK, and I think it's only 1,000 under the age of 30. Now, when you think it's quite a big old industry in terms of the money inflow, that's not very many people coming into the industry at all. And I think something like 70% of the industry is going to be retiring within the next 5 years, he said. So with that in mind, the building maybe is not as bad as that, but we still see there's not many, you know, people coming through now leaving school at 16, 17 and wanting to become a builder or whatever trade it might be. And ultimately, especially if you're business minded or entrepreneurial, no one really leaves and goes to set up a building company now. But what you have got is, with that, you've got an opportunity, I see it as, because, for example, if these companies are retiring, but there is no one beneath them, A, just organically, you're going to pick up a lot more work. B, you're going to be able to acquire some of these companies or do partnerships when the time's right. Also, if you come in with that modern, if you know it's a sort of an aging industry, let's say, if you come in with a modern approach, you can pretty much guarantee most of these aren't going to be doing that. What I mean by the modern approach is how your branding looks, making sure it looks clean, it looks presentable, it looks professional, it stands out. Your social media pages, making sure you're active, even down to the thing of understanding that TikTok's different to Instagram. Like, these small things make a huge difference. You just touched on the AI. I've literally in the process of we're implementing AI. We've built an AI which is going to come into the business, and it's an AI agent working for me 24/7, you know, and it can call and qualify leads for me. It's 24/7 customer service for my clients. It's going to schedule some appointments for me. It's going to summarize emails. It's going to do a whole load of things, right? It can do some outreach to industry. Jake touched on networking going out. You can actually do networking from me in my industry. Going to these events is great to be around those people, but it doesn't actually usually benefit my business. Whereas I can outreach to interior designers, architects, you know, these type of strategic partnerships. AI can help support that, set up meetings, and they're going to be able to feed me work. So all of that stuff I just said there is what I put into that modern twist on a traditional business. You know, just even the professional in my industry, the guys turning up looking professional, the sites being clean, the outside of not this traditional builder look, you know, and putting your face to the brand, which builds a lot of trust. All of this sort of stuff, and to give you an idea of how important this is, for me, roughly 50% of my profit margin comes from doing all of that modern methods of marketing and so on, which is huge. So half of my profit margin is from delivering a really tough job and where things go wrong in the industry and relying on people, managing day to day, etc., etc., etc. And then actually I can make the same profit just by how we present ourselves and implementing modern marketing methods. So it's huge. It's I just think it's such a great opportunity for people to see a traditional business, get into the industry, learn the knowledge, play slightly the longer game, get the knowledge for a few years, then set up the business again. It might take you a few more years to kind of break through, but once you really figure it out and you get it working, you can close that gap of companies that have been doing this for 30 years, some even longer. Maybe it came from 2 generations, and you can close that gap in a matter of 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever it is. But you know, it's and then the rewards are huge and you can get very dominant.
And Jake, over to you in terms of, again, you just spoke a little bit about your business being a franchise travel agency. A lot of people might not understand what that is. And so I just wondered if you could just tell people, what is a franchise travel agency? Why do you do it? Why did you go for that? And what's kind of some of the pros and cons?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Okay. So just in simple terms, a franchise. So we work with a bigger brand. So the brand itself is called Dial of Flight. Now, they've been in business for about 42 years. So that is one of the biggest pros, that you piggyback off of a brand that's been around for a long time, it's established. and people know who the brand is. So that, you can leave a value for your clients, so that, rest assured they understand that when, you are kind of starting out on your own, you've got a big brand to back you. You've got the brand taking care of your money, you've got the brand taking care of the aftercare, and you've got access to the years and years of relationships, contracts, and contacts that they've had. So, in simple terms, the franchise is that I now have my own branch. I've got my own staff and consultants, and we effectively have to bring in our own clients. So we have to service them, and we do that by utilizing the brand's system. So we have all their tech, and we have a lot of their support staff who work at head office. So I don't have an accounts team. I don't have a HR department. I don't have a hotels department. I don't have an airlines department. All of that is provided for by the franchisor. So, I mean, it can work in, any industry. For example, Joe's industry and building. I know there's some building franchises out there, and they may supply some of the stuff. It works different in different industries. And with what we've got everything provided apart from the lead. So our main role really is lead generation, and we have to go out there, get the clients. We then book it utilizing everything from dial a flight from the head office, and then the clients obviously got their protection as well once they're booked. For the Avto Natal was a big thing in the industry, and we give it's a profit share. So we then split profits between, we take some of the profits. I still have to cover my overheads. I still have to pay for my staff, have to pay for an office, have to pay for lead generation, marketing. So there still is overhead, but there's less things to worry about. So yeah, there's quite a few pros, quite a few cons as well. I found out the cons mainly when I started. You don't realize until you actually get into it. But just to name some of the cons is you've got a big brand to protect. They've been going for a long time, and they're not going to they wouldn't let me have free reign on marketing as such, and marketing the way that I wanted to market. So I've had quite a few conversations with them about things that I want to trial out. But for them, they come, they're getting new ideas from, like Joe said, putting a modern spin on things. They've been in business for 42 years. So they have a very old school business where they don't really approach social media. They don't have social media marketing. They're very much in the newspapers, would you believe it? That's where they spend a lot of their marketing budget. So very old school. So you can imagine trying to convince them to allow me to have free reign and use the brand, but use it in a different way. Yeah, we had a lot of meetings and a lot of conversations to try and progress that. So that's one negative I would say of having the bigger brand and the franchise. There's a brand that you have to protect. Um, some positive things are that you're not starting from zero. You're kind of starting from a level up. People will know the brand, they'll recognize the brand. If you approach them and you're representing the brand, then they may know you. And obviously, like I said, it's establishment. You can work in with clients based on, well, on that basis pretty much. So yeah, yes, it's been a bit of a journey. I think my industry specifically with travel, it's hard to start up on your own from scratch, because all the things that I mentioned, all your contracts with airlines, hotels, etc., that does take quite a few years to get things together. There's a lot of legals, a lot of legislation that you have to follow. So I suppose it depends on what vehicle that you've got and what your industry is. A lot of businesses you can just start from scratch, but some businesses it does help, and some industries it does help actually getting that step up for sure.
So at the time of this episode going out, we are literally just over 7 days away from our live event happening on Sunday, the 2nd of February. It's at Leeds City Centre, Hilton Hotel. And I just want to make sure people listening or watching this episode are fully aware that Business Mastery Live is not only going to have 7 incredible expert speakers on stage who are going to be talking all things business, marketing, sales, mindset, and giving you practical strategies and tools to help you. But we're also I mean, at the time of recording, I think we've got about 18 tickets left until we are sold out, which means there's going to be the best part of 200 like-minded individuals that have invested in getting a ticket, made the effort to be there. And I just want to give a shout out to the guys from the Multipliers podcast, because very kindly they are sponsoring Business Mastery Live. And they're going to be there on the day as well. So if you want to meet the guys from the Multipliers Club, you want to learn about their individual businesses and connect with them personally, this is a great opportunity. I'm super grateful to the guys. But I want to say to you right now, if you are listening / watching and you haven't yet got a ticket, please don't let this opportunity pass you by. We've all heard the phrases, you are the average of the 5 people you spend your time with. And we've heard the phrase, your network is your net worth. There is truth in those phrases. And I'm a big, big believer, as much as the internet's amazing, there's no substitute for getting in the room and building relationships with people in person. This is such a fantastic opportunity. If you not only want to learn from the expert speakers we've got speaking all day, but want to connect with people and build those relationships in person, this is the day to do it. And combined with the lessons and the relationships built, it could really be the thing that helps you move to that next stage of growth in not only your business, but also your life. So please, if this episode has just dropped, recognize that we are days away from this event. We are just a few tickets away from being sold out. So pause this episode, check the diary, make sure you can be there. It's on a Sunday when none of us are doing anything on a Sunday. So you can definitely make it. You can definitely be there. Literally put it in the diary and go to the show notes right this second. Click on the Eventbrite link. And if there are still tickets available, fingers crossed they are, get your ticket now, because I'm very confident this is going to be our first sold out event very, very soon. Get your tickets, and I'm really excited to see you there on Sunday, the 2nd of February in Leeds City Centre in person at Business Mastery Live 2025. So I think we've covered like quite a fair bit there about just the practicalities of business. We're talking about the importance of networking. We're talking about the importance of staying a student, constantly getting coaches, mentors, constantly moving and being in motion and not staying still.
Every day is a school day.
Every day is a school day, yeah. And I think that there's a lot
Yeah.
there that, in terms of the practical stuff. And also like what you said there about having the modern edge on stuff and constantly innovating and seeing what the new ways of working are and not getting left behind. What about, I kind of have this belief that your business is only going to grow as much as you do, in the sense that if you're not working on yourself and your self-development and your confidence and your vision and so on, then that's going to cap how far you go to some degree. So in terms of working on yourself, in terms of habits, maybe there might be some non-negotiables, some routines, things that you swear by that regularly keep you working on you and being the best version of you. I'm interested, both of you, if you want to answer this, what's some of the things that you would share that work really well?
Yeah, it always sounds so cheesy, like, working, kind of doing your personal development stuff like that, but it is so true. At the minute, I'm doing a 100-day challenge that one of our business coach and mentors, me and Joe got mentored by a guy called Steve Duran. He's quite big in the property world, but he mentored us a lot on sales, and he just set up his community doing a 100-day challenge. It's similar to 75 hard. I don't know if anybody's come across that before, but yeah, this is quite similar. The 100-day challenge is cold shower in the morning. You've got to do an act of kindness every day. You've got to do half an hour of education. You've got to do half an hour of exercise every day. And you've got to do a power task every day. And you've got to report it at the end of the day. So I'm on day 62 at the minute. And if you fail a day, you start from day zero. So I've been doing it since last November. So overall, I've been doing it for over 200 and something days, but I've failed probably about 4 different times. Normally, when I go on holiday, like, it's quite easy just to kind of forget about it. But it's all about just, yeah, every day, like little incremental increases. One book that I've read, which actually changed my whole mindset on it, was it was called The Slight Edge, and it's quite similar to Atomic Habits, if anyone's ever read that before. But yeah, The Slight Edge was my favorite because they just put it so simple. It's just about doing it every single day. It's not about doing it like doing an hour run, but doing it twice a week. It's more about maybe doing a half an hour walk, but doing it every single day. You'd get much more of a result from just keeping consistent, and not going to the extreme allows you to build a habit. We had somebody on our podcast, Nick Feeney, who he's a life coach, and he talked about how he had somebody who wanted to get into running. He was a real sort of big chap and he wanted to get into running. And he was like, right, I'm going to go out, I'm just going to start doing like 4K. And he was like, no, we're just going to start very simple. You're going to wake up every day. You're going to get it into routine in the morning. You're going to put your running gear on. You're going to leave the front door. You're going to turn around, come back in and get on with your day. So for 30 days, you have to consistently get up, get your running gear on. And you don't have to run. You just have to make it a habit. It's just consistently doing it every single day. And then that led on to the fact that, yeah, he ended up running and getting into best shape, because it just builds, small things. It just keeps like building the mindset. But you don't, and again, it's similar to what we were saying about your network is your net worth. You don't realize this stuff actually plays such a massive part until you start doing it. And once you start doing it, then you turn back and realize, actually, do you know what? Like that's actually probably definitely helped put me in the position that I am in now.
Love it. Anything for you, Joe?
Yeah, I think it's super important. I think try everything. If you heard what you want to do, what you need to get in the habit of doing is break away from the negative mindsets around you. And so if you hear someone or you hear multiple people, let's say you just heard Jake say that, let's say I said it, let's say you then hear, I don't know, whoever, Tony Robbins say it, and so on and so forth. Like, give it a try. Why not? If your mum, your cousin, your best mate from school all says, nah, that's all bollocks, mate, the guy from work, don't listen to them. This isn't going to do you any harm by trying it. And so, first of all, go and give all of it a go, whether it's meditation, whether it's cold plunge, whether it's the gym in the morning, whether it's the whatever it might be, reading 10 pages a day, try all of it. You haven't got to do all of it consistently, but you'll just start to realize, okay, this actually does really help me switch off, or this really helps me feel more energetic for the rest of the day, or whatever it might be. And you'll start, to build a few things that basically, if it makes you feel better or it has a benefit to you, do more of it, and like for me personally, walking's massive. I try to walk most days. Sometimes it's not possible, just with your schedule, but at least sort of 5 days a week, I'll go on a walk, and that's my time to just, I wouldn't say relax, but just to get positive, feel good. Even if I've had a bad day, it allows me a piece of time to still think forward, to still think of the good things, to practice gratitude, and that's tying a couple things in there at the same time, actually. So the sort of the visionary part, the manifesting, so that all comes from my walk. So there's probably a few personal development things in there. I like going to the gym in the morning now. I found the gym in the morning, if you're busy in business, people say, oh, you don't have time. I genuinely do not have time to go to the gym in the evening most of the time, right? I do if I get up at 6 and I start my day there. Then I can, if I have to work till 10 and I'm shattered at night or whatever, that's fine. I know I've at least gone to the gym in the morning. So, but yeah, like I say, different things will work for different people. One thing to not get caught up on is sometimes, like I say, especially when you're first starting, is although all of this does have a huge benefit and a long lasting benefit, sometimes you just have to get to work and just make shit happen. Like I would stress that massively. There's times where even, within the last year, so where we've had good times in the business and I've done the personal development, and then I think, yeah, it makes me feel good. We're doing better now. And then bang, something happens, your back's against the wall. And sometimes you just need to say, fuck this, I'm in fight mode and we're going at it. And it's work, work, work. It's working from the morning to the night. It's working weekends. It's brutal. It's hard. And you just got to go at it. So I think sometimes people think, oh yeah, I'm going to spend hours doing this whole routine, but I forgot to actually go and make some money or to get out there and take action. So back to what your first question was about the glamorous part. I think that whole personal development stuff is the glamorous part where, oh, if you do this and you work on yourself, your business is going to flower and do great. Yes, and I do it myself, and 100% I can tell you it does work, but there's also going to be times where fuck everything else, I'm in fight mode, we got to make this happen. And that's the mindset that ultimately is going to make you survive in business, because there's a lot of people that will be wasting time on stuff in the short term when actually something's going on in your business. I ain't got time to meditate. I've got to pick up the phone and start calling leads. Like,
And that takes
I think it
self-awareness
depends. I
to be
think,
real with yourself, doesn't it? To go, this is what I
yeah.
need right now. I think one thing that strikes me about both of you is very clearly you're decision makers. You take fast action. You put in the work. What I'm finding a lot with a lot of people is they struggle to make decisions. They feel consistently like they're at a crossroads. They feel overwhelmed. They feel consistently like one person they follow online is saying go down this path, another is saying the polar opposite, somebody else is saying this will make
yeah,
you money. And so whereas you've just made decisions and gone and committed and worked the hours and got results, most people are stopping, starting, stopping, starting. Talk to them people for me. What would be your advice to help them break that mold, stop the overwhelm, gain clarity, stop the procrastination, and just commit to one thing and start getting results?
can do something. You just got to do something, and also just set dates for stuff. Set dates for when you actually want to try and achieve what you're trying to, yeah, what you're trying to achieve. But with slightly going back to the habits, I think accountability is huge, and it sort of leads on to this as well. Accountability, just reporting. Like I have to report what I'm doing every single day. I was doing it with somebody else. He completed 100 days, and I still have to report in. And you feel like, if you don't, then you've let that person down. So you can just find somebody, just a friend who you feel maybe has the same mindset, maybe somebody who doesn't have the same mindset, and just said, look, I'm trying to do this. This is what I want to try and achieve by this date. So I need somebody to basically hold me accountable. Is it okay if I just check in with you every day and update you with what I've done today? Update you with my task. If you're trying to achieve to get X amount of leads by in the next 2 months or 3 months, for Q2 or for Q3, whatever, then you need to actually sit down and work out a plan on how you're going to do it and then how to actually take action on that plan. I think planning is probably quite an important part of it as well.
Yeah.
Because I think that kind of leads into your point where people are frozen because they don't know what to do. Someone's saying this, someone's saying that. Just write a plan. Write a plan for the next, whether it be
And be
3 month
okay as
plan.
well with that plan not being the right thing, but you learn through
It
doing, right?
changes. It
Yeah.
Yeah.
changes. Yeah, yeah. The amount of ways that
Changes
I've
every
tried to get
day.
leads. Yeah, 100%. Tried to get
Anything you'd
different
add for
leads.
that, Joe, just in terms of people feeling overwhelmed with what to actually do?
Execute. Literally, I had the same conversation. Someone I'm like mentor, who's starting up a AI agency business. We had this chat the other day. I said, right, listen, partly plan. I said, here's the plan, and we've already gone over a load of plan, etc., etc. I said, cut the research part right now. We need to see a product in front of us within the next 2 weeks. You've got a team working on it. Just execute, take action every single day. Don't get 2 weeks later and nothing's changed. Back to the moving the needle. I'm very much like that. You got to just do, execute. You got to work. You got to put the shift in. You got to do the hours. You're not gonna creatively just magic something to happen. You have to put the hours in when you're first starting. Until you've got a team doing it for you, you're gonna have to work hard. And I wish that was something that was constantly drummed into me when I first started. Although I've always worked hard, they went through a period where I almost thought like you could get to success without putting the hours in, and you can't. You really can't. And until I bucked it was a stage where it's like, yeah, but I don't actually want to work 80 hours a week. Tough. You ain't going to get there otherwise, in my opinion. And I think if you do it and you do it properly, very quickly you can get a team, and then you can start not having to work those many hours. But don't forget to execute. That's the main thing I'd say, is just do some stuff.
I think an important point is executing consistently on the right stuff that moves the needle. That's what you keep saying, not just on maintaining the current level of business you've got and servicing the current clients. You need to be like, what is going to move me to that next level? I think that's a really key point. Boys, this has been brilliant. I want to just move on because I know that we have a little bit of time that we want to make sure
Yeah.
we get some Q&A with the
Yeah,
members.
yeah.
So we're going to go to the general life questions that I ask every guest that comes on this show. If we just do them kind of quick fire, if we just go Jake first, then Joe. So let's go through these. So the first one is, what is some of the best advice you've ever received in your life and why? What comes to mind, Jake?
Oh, mate, put me on the spot there. I think to just go for it. Literally, just go for it. So, just an example, when just starting early. It's just getting in there. And when I was starting up a travel agency, I had it was during COVID. There was no business coming through, and it was just a case of look, just start now, start early, just get it done,
Love it.
take action.
Joe?
Take it on and figure it out later. Take on the client, take on the work, take on the whatever, and figure it out.
All right, let's go to the flip side. What's some of the worst advice? Maybe advice you see on social media or something you've been told about how things should be, and actually through your experience, you've gone, that's rubbish. That isn't the truth. Worst advice and why? What would you say, Jake?
That's a good question. You might have to come back to me on that one.
Quick fire, mate. Come
Worst,
on.
Come
worst,
on.
worst advice. I'm trying to think what bad advice I've been given.
I'll go
I just
first.
don't.
Multiple streams of income being the first point of call. You need to build one income stream first, and it needs to be successful. Then you need to have it operate at a good level without you, and then you build multiple streams of income. Don't do it the other way because it won't work, or it won't work successfully.
Worst piece of advice I had was to not go on social media, and that was from Dial of Flux. They were advertising in the newspapers.
There you go. All right, next one. What is the biggest mistake you think you've made as you reflect on your business, on your life? Big mistake. And the important bit is, what did you learn from making that mistake?
Thinking that bigger was better and growing too fast, taking on too many staff members, getting too many overheads, and thinking that just because I'm getting bigger means that my profit's getting bigger. It didn't whatsoever. So
Mm.
scale back, and that's I spent a lot of money, the unnecessary money, but it was a huge learning curve. Try and forecast what the future looks like with X amount of staff, X amount of overheads, and then look at your margin.
Love it. Joe?
I've got another one, but I'll back that saying that like at least bigger overheads is better. So scale back on your overheads. But for me, the biggest mistake was tying back to my last point was I had 3 or 4 businesses running at the same time, all okay at 21. But until you go all in on one business, you're not going to see huge growth. So focus on one thing first before you diverse out.
So this show is about helping people live happier, healthier, and more fulfilling lives. So if you think about those 3 things, how people can live a happy life, a healthy life, and a life where they feel truly fulfilled, and you was to each give 3 pieces of advice and say, if you follow this advice, if you live by these 3 things, you're going to be happy, healthy, and fulfilled. What comes to mind? What would you leave the listeners with today?
I think for sure Joe might disagree with this, but I think find a nice work-life balance as soon as you can. Maybe don't take on as much responsibility as you think you need to take on, because I've learned the hard way. I got very ill from taking on too much at once, running too many businesses and getting too involved. And the second bit of advice is learn to delegate. Learn when you're not good at something, learn to pass that off. And my third bit of advice is when you're running your business, just choose to do the bits that you enjoy. Just choose to do those bits because that's where you're going to excel. And obviously, that ties in with delegating. But choose the points that you like to do, and then you're going to be happy. You're going to be happy doing that.
Love it. I think they're great answers. Joe, what would you say?
I'd say unless it's scientifically proven, don't listen to anyone that says you can't do something, whether that's a big vision or a small part of a task. I made myself the boss of a building company before I knew how to even build. So, and I just went from apprentice to I'm now the boss, and I went for it. That's not the order. That's not how you're meant to do it. But is it possible? Yes, fine. I'm doing it, and it worked. So that's one piece of advice in all walks of life. I think I've got to reiterate the delegation, because delegation actually, more than anything, brings you happiness, because like Jake said, you're then not doing tasks that you don't want to do or you're not good at, which ultimately just makes you miserable. And I think what would be one more piece of advice?
Quickfire, come on.
I think don't compare yourself to other people. Don't compare yourself to people online. Just you know, just set yourself goals to improve yourself. And compare yourself to you yesterday, no one else.
Absolutely love this. Both of you, thank you so much. I'm sure everyone listening are in awe of your mindset, of the application, the execution, and all the kind of knowledge that you've brought to us tonight. So thank you so much for sharing. If people are hearing about you guys for the first time and they're like, I need to follow their content. And by the way, I can vouch for it. I really am a massive fan. I'm seeing you guys develop and grow and produce high quality content, value-led content as well. If people want to follow you online, could you just give a shout out? Where are the best places? What are the handles?
So personal tags, so it's mainly Instagram, is the Travel Entrepreneur. And we've got our podcast page. Joe, didn't we change the handle on it recently?
Yeah, I think it's it's called the Multipliers Club .podcast, I believe. It's bad that we don't even know our Instagram handle, but it's either the Multipliers Club podcast. Sorry, the Multipliers Club or the Multipliers Club.
Yeah, the Multipliers Club .podcast. Yeah, there we go.
There we are. And then my personal page is on all platforms is Joe Todd 23. I'm just launching my own YouTube channel. We're hiring a content manager to start building our personal pages. So there's going to be a lot more content coming. So yeah, check it out, follow us, reach out if you've got any questions, and we'd love to connect.
Love it. Final question to end the podcast before we go into the Q&A. What is your personal definitions of success?
Jakey?
Doing something that you enjoy every day. And yeah, just getting to choose, getting the choice, freedom.
Yeah, that's my thoughts, but I don't actually practice what I preach on it. So for me, I think success is building something that's kind of bigger than yourself. So building something for a legacy, so something that impacts the world or multiple people around you or out in society, something that's just bigger than yourself, and being able to build something successful in that sense that carries on.
Love it, boys. Thank you so much. Absolutely brilliant stuff.
Thank you.
The atmosphere was absolutely electric. The speakers that Matt gets are always phenomenal.
It's so inspirational. It's so motivational.
The speaker for everyone.
I seriously think out of everything I've ever done, putting on these events is the thing I enjoy the most, and it has the potential to genuinely impact every single area of life.
This is a place where I felt really comfortable as someone who's just started up my own business.
If you're a business owner, if you are looking to start a business like I've recently done, this is the perfect thing to do.
No matter what stage you are at in starting a business, what your ambition is, every speaker you'll find something you can relate to.
Everybody in there today have learned so much, and it's been such a cracking time. So you know what, if there's another one, I'm there.
If you haven't been to one of these events, get your tickets if you haven't got them.
If you take action, I can almost 100% guarantee you that it will positively change your life.